As people walk in here, I'm just going to go ahead and start. My name is Chad Bays, and I'm chairman of the Carleton Conservative Union. I would like to issue, I'd like to issue a very special welcome this evening to the Secretary of State of Minnesota, Mary Kiffmeyer, hopefully our next governor as well. Our very own state senator from Northfield, Tom Neville, who's sitting right next to Secretary of State. Faculty, I'd like to welcome them. Students, the ambassadors from the Norwegian Embassy up on the hill. Most especially, the legions of conservatives here at Carleton College. After we brought the godfather of conservatives, William F. Buckley Jr. to campus last spring, we thought bringing the Moses of conservatives was the logical next step. Few films have a theme. Still fewer lives are lived for a great theme or purpose. The man before us, or the man about to enter rather, has acted and lived to one theme. The man is Charlton Heston. The theme is freedom. As a film actor, Heston played, to put in his own words, captains, kings, cowboys, cardinals, cops, quarterbacks, architects, astronauts, prophets, presidents, saints, geniuses, and God. Though Heston played many diverse roles on stage and on screen, his most famous roles entail the fight and struggle for freedom. Acting as Moses in the Ten Commandments, Heston led the Israelites out of bondage. Acting as a Roman slave, Heston won his freedom in Ben-Hur, a role which also earned him an Oscar for Best Actor. As a captive of primates, I notice we have a couple primates over here. Heston fought for the dignity of the human species in Planet of the Apes. Even Heston's most famous lines are cries for freedom. Heston's deep baritone voice has brought lines such as, "Let my people go," and, my personal favorite, "Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape." Over 15 of Heston's characters have died on screen, and only one peacefully in bed. It's no wonder then that Heston did not find an invitation to Carleton very intimidating. While portraying the struggle for freedom on screen, Heston has spent his life off screen supporting the causes of freedom. Heston served in the Pacific Theater in the Army Air Corps during World War II. In 1963, Heston marched with and stood beside Martin Luther King Jr. as he gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. Heston brought visibility to issues of human rights while making trips on behalf of the State Department to Africa and to Asia. As the president of the NRA, Heston has fought to uphold the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Heston documented his remarkable life in his autobiography, appropriately titled, "In the Arena." So, please prepare to welcome Mr. Heston to our arena. Please welcome the man whose acting and actions embody freedom. Please welcome a man who is well armed with facts and ideas. Please welcome Charlton to Carleton. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charlton Heston.
Stinking paws off me, you damn dirty apes. I'm very grateful for the chance to speak to this audience tonight. It already looks like a marvelous evening, and I'm delighted, really delighted to be here. I'm also delighted and pleased with Mr. Bay's generous introduction. Quite often, people with public faces are introduced with the simple phrase, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, a man who needs no introduction." Believe me, you can always use a good introduction. No, you laugh, but it's true. I have a story that proves it. True story. Didn't happen to me. Happened to a friend of mine, Kirk Douglas. This is some years ago when Ben-Hur was still playing practically all over the world. And Kirk told me he was walking in the street near his home in Beverly Hills one evening after dinner. And he was approached very politely by a stranger who said, "Excuse me, sir, I don't like to interfere in the private lives of public people, but I cannot let pass this opportunity to tell you what a deeply moving, enormously creative performance you gave in Ben-Hur." And Kirk said, "Well, thanks very much, but that wasn't me, that was another fella." The man stood back amazed. He said, "Well, if you aren't Burt Lancaster, who the hell are you?" So again, you can understand why I was pleased that Mr. Bays made it clear to you that I'm not Burt Lancaster. I am very grateful for the invitation from your local college Republican chapter to have me share some thoughts with you tonight. I want you to do something for me. I think you might even like it. As the elections approach and your senses are assaulted with all the candidates' platforms and positions, messages, mottos, promises, posturing, I want you to do something. Forget it all. Forget it all. Forget the slogans and the sound bites. Forget all the clamor and chatter that distracts from this singular truth. Freedom has never been in greater peril, nor needed you more urgently to come to her defense. This year is the one year we must forget it all and vote for freedom first. Only by forgetting all else and focusing on this principle can we preserve, or indeed deserve the same sacred country our forefathers created. Human nature today is, of course, no different than it was in 1776. In the days of our revolution, most colonists were undecided between the British Crown and the Constitution. They were distracted by the temporary, everyday concerns of their lives, whether it was their families, their farms, their businesses, their jobs, or the latest decree handed down by King George, who called them, by the way, a rebel in arms. It took 8 years, but they defeated the finest army in the world. But a few of those colonists, they forgot all of it except freedom, and thank God they did. For them, freedom wasn't everything, it was the only thing. They knew it was their birthright as surely as they could feel the sun in their faces or the wind at their backs. And they kept their eyes fixed on its infinite promise, just as a mariner steers a course to the horizon and discovers a new world at the end of the journey. Only because they forgot everything else were they able to launch this extraordinary experiment in freedom we still enjoy today. For them, there was no middle ground, no peripheral issue. They didn't feign apathy because they didn't like their options. They didn't go knock-kneed at the sight of King George's redcoats. They didn't curl up on their gunny sack beds and nap while others called the shots. No, it's only because they demanded no compromise that American freedom became the example and the envy of the world. But like those uncommitted colonists today, only some fraction of all eligible Americans even register to vote, and only a smaller fraction of those actually do vote. Like the summer soldiers and the sunshine patriots of the Revolutionary War. They are lulled into lethargy by the nonsense, noise of marginal issues. So they sit back and do nothing, and freedom is lost. But the people who make the difference are those who are absolutely unequivocal about principle. Today, as always, that task must fall to the few. The few, like you, who feel the pulse of freedom pounding in your veins. The few who know that when freedom is in danger, it is our duty to be blinded to all else. By being here tonight, supporting this speech, you stand as the modern day equivalents of those early revolutionaries. The few who know that when freedom is in danger, it's our duty to be blinded to all else. By being here and supporting this, the direct descendants of America's revolutionary heroes, you have inherited the bloodline of those patriots, and by your actions, you bequeath it to a generation of young people now awaiting and watching your every move. Now, maybe attending a rally and casting your ballot seems tame compared to the courageous valor of those ragged rebels armed with muskets. But you have to understand, in freedom's eyes, you are no less noble, no less important, no less essential to her cause than were those intrepid souls whose bloodied, frozen feet carried liberty through the winter at Valley Forge. The fearless few who stared down the crown at Concord Bridge. You are the sons and daughters of the Boston Tea-Spillers, the people of principle, who from every generation who forget all else so that we and our children can be free. You have to remember Mr. Longfellow's poem about that event at Concord Bridge. By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to freedom's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world. They won our freedom with bullets so that we could defend our freedom with ballots. That's the holy war that you in this room help wage and win. But instead of fighting the redcoats, we are fighting the blue blood elitists. Instead of fighting for independence, we're fighting for individual freedom. And instead of fighting to create a nation, we are fighting for its survival. Life offers us so few fleeting chances to do something that really makes a difference. And instead of fighting to create a nation, we fight for its survival. Life offers so few fleeting chances, but thanks to this great country, you get that chance every 4 years. And this year, freedom needs you more than ever before. That's why I say, like our founders, you must forget all else and remember only freedom, not what some shop steward or news anchor says, not this issue or that promise or any packaged platform of distraction, just freedom. When you collar a friend or call a comrade and tell them to forget all the marginal issues and vote freedom first, your words will echo in the spirit of Patrick Henry and Thomas Paine. When you hammer a yard sign into your lawn to win votes for leaders who defend the Bill of Rights, you're doing no less than hoisting the flag of freedom that warns, don't tread on me. And on election day, when you pull the lever to vote freedom first, you're doing no less than our forefathers pulling the trigger against the tyrants at Lexington and Concord. Vote freedom first. Everything else is a distant and forgettable second. I thank you.
everyone for coming. It's about 6:20. What we're going to do is Mr. Heston and his folks accompanying him are going to be heading up to Great Hall for a book signing at this point. So the line will be forming on the west end of Great Hall, which is in the Severance building, right on this west end of campus, just up the hill. So thanks again for coming. Everyone have a great night.
Right?